He's one of our nation's most respected retirement planning and IRA experts. Ed Slott joins us next on Your Wealth Health. Hello and welcome to another episode of Your Wealth Health. I'm Eric Brenner, president and founder of Hilltop Wealth Solutions, and thanks for joining me today. If you're watching us on Facebook, if you could hit that share button and share it, I think we've got some really good information today. And if you're watching us online, thank you very much. With me today is Bill Davis, and Bill is across the studio to my right, and we are continuing to practice social distancing in this challenging time. And in this challenging time, we wanted to talk more about the Secure Act and IRA and tax planning, and really what does it mean to you. And we're fortunate today to have a renowned expert, Ed Slott, with us. Ed is a retirement and planning expert. He's a professional speaker, TV personality. You may have seen him on TV. Best-selling author and also a CPA. And the Wall Street Journal has called him the best source for IRA advice. Ed has also set up a special training program for elite advisors. You know, there are several 100,000 advisors around the country, but only 400 or so advisors are part of Ed Slott's Elite Advisor program, and I'm fortunate enough to be one of those. So we'll talk more about that later on in the show. But Ed, thanks for being with us today.
Great to be here. Great to be here. And I am socially distanced too. I'm in New York. It's more than 6 feet from you, I'm sure.
Yeah, just a little bit, Ed. Thank you so much.
But I am not socially distanced. I am not socially distanced from the tax code. That I always have right next to me here.
Great. Well, that's a good CPA right there, Ed. So let's start off, Ed. You know, we've talked the last few weeks about the Secure Act, and, you know, we think that it kind of got buried a little bit with everything that's gone on and, you know, everything that happened starting there late February. And specifically, we talked about the tax control triangle. So what are your thoughts about the new rules and how people can take advantage of them?
Well, first, I want to congratulate both you and Bill and Beth Foley for being members of Ed Slott's Elite IRA Advisor Group. I think it's very important for anybody watching, especially in these uncertain times, to know that your advisor has the specialized knowledge you need at this time. There's a lot of advisors that can make you money, but it's keeping it that counts. You can only spend what you keep after taxes. Most advisors in this country, over 99% of them, are not trained in this area. So I want to make a big point. Now, you might have just heard me say, wait a minute, 99% of advisors don't know anything about this? Does that mean only 1% of advisors do? No, it's much less. It's way worse than you thought. I know, because I train more advisors in this area than anyone in the country. And I have to tell you, I want to make a big point of this, that advisors like Eric and Bill and Beth have made a commitment to learn so you can keep more of your hard-earned money. And Eric just brought up the Secure Act, for example. Now, being part of our advanced education group, that's what it is. Your advisors here have invested in their education. Being part of that group, they were constantly in the loop. When something changes, as you know, you guys have all received updates and alerts from us telling your clients what to do, how it affects them. For example, the Secure Act. Don't be fooled by the name. Remember, whenever Congress names an act, you can almost always bet it does exactly the opposite. So when they call something the Secure Act, to you, it means better get a good advisor and watch your wallet. So, for example, in the Secure Act, they ended the so-called stretch IRA. Now, that may not affect you, but it may affect the plans you had for your beneficiaries. So what is that all about? Well, many of you had played by the rules. You worked hard for 20, 30, 40 years, building, saving, investing, sacrificing, diligent and disciplined saving so you would have something for retirement. But the problem is that something, your IRA or 401k, is tax deferred, not tax free. The tax is still owed on that. And many of you had plans to say, you know what, I've done well, I did all my saving and investing, and I want not only a safe and secure retirement, but I want to leave some of those funds as a legacy to my children and grandchildren. Now, those plans you created may no longer hold up. That's what the Secure Act did. Congress felt your retirement savings were for you, not for your beneficiaries, even though you did nothing wrong. These were the rules. What Congress did, obviously, whenever they need money, what do? They raid your retirement savings. You know, it's strange. They tell you, put money in, put money in, put money in, save for your retirement. Then when you do, they say, aha, we've got you. So that's what they did in the Secure Act. So you have to upgrade your plans. It may turn out that the plan you had for your grandchild to extend distributions over 50 years is now a 10-year period. So your plans may have to change. If anything, that was the biggest single change in the Secure Act. And here's the thing, that was enacted December 20th, 2019, and effective 12 days later, January 1st. Thanks for the grace period, Congress. It's effective now. So if you're watching this, you should be contacting advisors like the Hilltop group here that have taken extensive specialized training in this area to get your plan on track. And it's probably going to be a new plan, especially if you've named a trust as your IRA beneficiary, as many have who have large savings in IRAs and 401ks. So Eric and Bill, that's the big change in the Secure Act. There are other minor trimming around the edges. For example, they raised the age for RMDs, when your RMDs begin, from 70 and a half. This is a great congressional move, from 70 and a half all the way up to 72. That's it. They're crowing about it like they found a new planet or something. Yeah, that may help some people, and it's good, but probably not good enough. Planning around that needs to be done too. And now you have the CARES Act. I mean, it's one after another. The point is, you have to have an advisor that is constantly in the loop on this. Most are not. Unlike a program like this, where you have Eric and Bill on here, most advisors are hunkered down. They don't know what to do. But these guys do, and I'm proud to be on here with the Hilltop group.
Hey, Ed, talk a little bit about your reviewing of beneficiary designations and the importance of that.
Oh, that is critical. That's something you should always do anyway. And as you know from being in our training, we train you on a series of modules to cover everything, so nothing can fall through the cracks. And you might recall number one module, the first thing I tell every advisor, check beneficiary forms, even before all the whole world changed. Why? Because things change. I call them life events. You have a birth, a death, a marriage, a remarriage, a divorce, a change in the tax law, which we've had several just in a short span. You want to make sure that that beneficiary form is up to date. And even if you think it's up to date, for example, I talked about the Secure Act naming a grandchild. You might want to change your plans knowing the grandchild might be have to be paid out in 10 years. And you might say, you know, I don't know if I want a 15-year-old getting $1 million IRA in 10 years. These things have to be checked. That's what I mean. That's how I train advisors like Eric and Bill here to go beyond investing. Investing is one thing. That's just half the game. Sure, you need to have a good investment plan to get there and have something, but keeping it is the harder part. That's the part that most advisors fall short on. So beneficiary form planning is critical. That should be checked all the time. Every one of you should have your beneficiary beneficiary forms checked on your IRAs, 401ks, and anything else driven by beneficiaries. That includes life insurance and annuities.
Great, thanks, Ed. We'll have much more to discuss with Ed, and we'll talk about the ALITA program. Ed's mentioned it, but we'll talk about why that is important as you look at choosing a financial advisor, and we'll also take some of your questions when we return on Your Wealth Health.
I cannot work, do e-learning, and keep this house clean.
You should try Kay's way. You heard you were dirty, so we came in a hurry. We can't help you with the e-learning, but we can help you with the cleaning. Try Kay's way.
Why for so many years we achieved so much, prospered as no other people on earth. It was because here in this land, we unleashed the energy and individual genius of man to a greater extent than has ever been done before. Freedom and the dignity of the individual have been more available and assured here than in any other place on earth.
Welcome back to Your Wealth Health. I'm Eric Brenner. Thanks for joining me today. And with me, I have Bill Davis. He is in the studio, more than 6 feet away on my right-hand side. And we have special guest Ed Slott, an IRA and retirement planning expert, social distancing, as he says, from New York. So Ed, you started training advisors many years ago, and then you started this elite advisor group. Tell us more about that.
Well, this is a specialized, highly educational program. It's advanced training for advisors who want to take care of their clients all the way through retirement and even help beneficiaries. Most advisors just do investments, but that's just not enough. So my background is a CPA, which I still am. But 30 years ago, I was doing returns. More than 30 years ago, actually, just passed over 40 tax seasons, but who's counting? And I always had people come in, they would take money out of their retirement. And remember, back then, retirement was kind of new. Remember, back then, most people had pensions, but that dried up in the 80s. And most companies went to 401ks and eventually to IRAs, where the responsibility and risk of saving for retirement was on you as the worker or even a self-employed person. So people would come and take money out, started a little in the 80s and early 90s. And I realized then that they were making all of these horrible mistakes. And this area of the tax law is the most complex, but it's also the most unforgiving. When you make a mistake, you do a rollover the wrong way. And this is still true now. You could lose all your life savings. Not that you'll lose it all, but let's say you try to move your life savings. You save for 30 years, it's $300,000, and you do it the wrong way. It may all be taxable. And now the whole point of saving tax deferred is gone. So I saw these mistakes and it constantly bothered me. And as a tax preparer, remember, that's the problem with my own profession, sorry to say, CPAs. We're really basically, at least the ones who only do tax returns like I was doing, really, we're just history teachers. We tell you what already happened. And I was constantly saying, look at this. Oh, you know what you should have done? Oh, if you only did, you could have done this. And it was on and woulda, coulda, shoulda. I said, this is no way. I don't want to give bad news to the same people every year the minute they touch their retirement accounts. And I realized you have to be proactive, go out into the future, not look at what already happened. So I moved into a planning mode many years ago, actually right after 86 tax law gave us all these complicated tax rules. And I realized then that there was a void. The professionals were not catching on until it was too late and people made costly mistakes and overpaid their taxes. They paid penalties and lost chunks of their retirement savings to ignorance or no guidance, ignorance of the rules and no guidance by their advisors. And each advisor I found thought the other was taking care of it. The accountant would say, I thought the financial advisor took care of it. The financial advisor thought the attorney took care of it. The attorney thought the cat took care of it. Nobody took care of it. So I realized there was a huge void. And I was training advisors at that point, doing 2-day programs, and realized I was onto something. And then people that came to the program said, the advisors, like you guys there, said, we want to learn more about this. This is critical for our clients to take them when they hit the top of the hill and they think they've done everything. That's just halftime. The score is an old football saying, and we've got 2 football towns in your area, both Michigan and Indiana. There's a saying, the score at halftime is irrelevant. Give me the score at the end of the game, and then I'll tell you who won. Well, that's the same thing with retirement. The first half of the game is the building, working, saving, and investing, building. But the problem is most people that head to retirement and have done all that, they go in at halftime thinking we've done everything. And they go in at halftime and they think the game's over. Meanwhile, the IRS comes out, they're playing the third and fourth quarter, they're playing nobody, so they win. And I realized this is not the way to go into retirement. So I created an advanced study group only for advisors like you at the Hilltop Group, Eric and Bill and Beth, who's not with us here today, but honorable mention, Beth Foley is there in Michigan, and who wanted to do a better job for their clients all the way through, beyond halftime, playing the third and fourth quarter. That's critical. That's when all the taxes hit, that buildup, that tax deferred part. Remember, taxes are the single biggest factor that will determine how much you keep and how much goes to the government. You want to keep more and pay less. But to do that, you have to have a plan, which almost nobody does. And that's why I started over 15 years ago. I think we're on our 16th year of Ed Slott's Elite IRA Advisor Group. Less than 1% of the nation's advisors are members like you are. And what's unique about your group, you have 3 members of your team in this elite advanced educational study group. Now, some people may say, Ed, what else do you do? I do nothing. I'm an educator. I'm a tax advisor. When I say I do nothing, this is not about products. I don't sell stocks, bonds, funds, insurance, annuities. I'm a tax advisor and an educator and a consumer advocate, as you may have seen on public television. And my message to consumers is these horrors shouldn't happen to you, and they won't if you have competent advisors that are educated with this specialized knowledge to get that money out, to have more, keep more, and make it last. So the people at the Hilltop Group, Eric, Beth, and Bill, have made a commitment to take ongoing education. This is not like a study class where they study for, a half hour while they're watching TV and then get 3 letters after their name. This is ongoing training with testing. They're in our educational loop all year long. They're constantly getting updates and emails when something breaks, whether it's a new law like the CARES Act. Eric, you may remember, and Bill, that when the CARES Act came into law, it was March 27th. You got an email that night. I was sitting here waiting to push the button when the president signed it into law. We had that all ready to go for you. But, you never know until he actually signs it if it's going to be a law. And you got that night. So you were able to communicate with your client, for example, that RMDs were waived and other relief provision that came out of the CARES Act. So that's why I set up Ed Slott's Elite IRA Advisor Group. And I'm telling you, if you're a consumer that worked hard to build your IRA and 401k, now it's time to move up to the next level of advisor. I call this the financial Olympics. These guys have been training their whole career for this moment. That's the kind of advisor you need to step up to take you through retirement and beyond. And that's the guts of Ed Slott's Elite IRA Advisor Group, which I'm proud to say has 3 members right here in the Hilltop Group.
Yeah, thanks, Ed. That's I have to say that since we've been on your team, the wealth of knowledge that your team brings to our team has been spectacular. We focused last week on our show on the tax control triangle and helping people understand the difference between Roth IRAs, traditional IRAs, 401ks, and things like that. So I know that when we come back on the next segment, we want to talk about the impact on people's estate plans we think that people should be, at your comment about halftime, that people should be starting to plan even after 59 and a half to start to maybe get some more tax control. So we want to get into that a little bit more after the break.
Thanks, Ed, for all that great knowledge. And yeah, when we return, as Bill said, we do want to get to some more questions. We've got Ed for the whole entire show, and so stay with us. You won't want to miss it. Welcome back to Your Wealth Health. I'm here today with Bill Davis and Ed Slott, our special expert, IRA expert today. And thank you for watching us on Facebook, online, and on Fox Michiana today. We appreciate you joining us. We also want to note a new website we just launched at hilltopwealthsolutions.com. We think there's a lot of great information on that website. It's very informative, interactive. It's got guides and checklists on there. You can watch some past workshops that we have done on particular topics. A lot of great information. Bill?
Yeah, Ed, we started to get into some estate planning opportunities, and we referenced the tax control triangle. You know, we found that most people's accumulation has been in their qualified plans. So we think that there's some opportunity now with the required minimum distribution pushed out to 72, maybe starting some distributions earlier and repositioning. So what are some ideas that you have as far as estate planning to, you know, because of the stretch is gone now and some of those ideas?
Well, you're a good student, Bill, so I have to plug our Ed Slott's Elite IRA Advisor Group. That's because you're right on top of that. And this is what I mean by having advisors that do proactive planning, that look out. You know, the things Bill just talked about not only can impact you. You might say, the heck with the kids. You know, they're going to get plenty anyway. What's in it for me? This is something that has something in it for you and a legacy for your children. Yes, there's no more stretch, but under the CARES Act, which the Hilltop Group is well informed on as of the day it was enacted, the RMDs were waived. That's required minimum distributions, which under the Secure Act, I keep naming all these laws because they're coming at us one after another. And that doesn't include these under the radar rulings that are constantly coming out, which Eric and Bill know from taking our training. We have books filled up. Our books, I have them back here, these thick books, which have all the latest rulings, case law, and they're up on this. So I want to focus on what Bill was asking about. He talked about the estate plan, but there's things you can do now. What Bill was talking about is maybe getting some money out now, and that is brilliant. So while other people are saying, oh, great, I don't have to take my required minimum distribution, that may be great, but maybe you want to take some money out anyway. Look at the tax brackets, work with your accountants and the people at Hilltop here to do some big time planning, because the rates are rock bottom low. Taxes are on sale. You know, now is the time to get, they're not going to stay that way because they're going to increase. How do I know that? Do I have a crystal ball? No, but I have history. And part of the history shows that the tax rates, I'll give you an idea for the baby boomers like me that are watching. Do you know for all of the years of the baby boomers, the years we were born, that's 1946 to 1964, every one of those years, the top federal rate was over 90%, 90, not a typo. They're not going to edit this out, was over 90%, except for the last year, 1964, when the Beatles came here. So they lowered it to 77%. And everybody, oh, good, only 77% tax. And then later on, they lowered it to 50%. And the whole country did a happy dance because it was the first time we were equal partners with our government on our own money. And we thought that was fantastic. That was called the 80s. And now it's down to in the 30s. Some people can pay 10 or 12%. So the foundational principle, the way to make money, I'm not going to say in stocks because nobody knows the answer to that. But the real money is made in tax planning. The way to make money in tax planning, and this may sound simplistic, but these guys know because they've been trained on it, always pay taxes at the lowest rates because those rates are going to go up. Think about it as a stock. You know, one of my favorite old-time comedians, you guys may remember him, Henny Youngman, was great with the one-liners, but he was also financially savvy. And one of the best one-liners that explained tax planning in one line was this line of his. He said, "I'm putting all my money in taxes, the only thing sure to go up." He was right. Taxes are going to go up. We've had massive deficits, but guess what we just did in this CARES Act? We wrote a $2 trillion check on a bank account with no money in it. What does that mean? To you, it means your retirement savings, because that money hasn't been taxed yet, your 401k, your IRA. That is the low-hanging fruit. It's a sitting duck. And every time Congress needs money, we already know they raid your retirement savings. So what Bill is talking about is getting some of that money out now, paying the lowest tax. Yes, you might have to pay some tax now, but it's better than watching the rates go back up. You know, Mark Twain had a saying. He said, history doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes. We don't want to see you in 50, 60, 70% rates in retirement when you're the most vulnerable and you need the money the most. If rates go back to 50%, you only have half the purchasing power in retirement that you thought you would have without new money coming in when the paychecks stop. That's why what Bill and Eric are referring to is getting in for a plan. Maybe it pays to move some of that out to a Roth or take it out in qualified charitable distributions. You don't know what I'm talking about? It's a way to save big money and give to charity. Not everybody can do it, but talk to the Hilltop group. These are things you're not getting from other less informed advisors. I know I train them all over the country, but nobody has the training that Eric, Bill, and Beth do at the Hilltop Wealth Group through Ed Slott's Elite IRA Advisor Group. Now it's time to step up to a real planner.
Hey, Ed, thanks. And quickly, you mentioned Roth IRAs. I think a lot of people thought Roths weren't for them. They couldn't contribute to them. Conversions maybe didn't make sense. Now we're seeing more and more people utilize that. Just real quickly, what are your comments about Roths?
Well, this is where I said it can help you in lifetime. Yeah, you might have a tax now, but at low rates. And the minute you convert, none of that money, remember, Roths during your life have no required minimum distributions. So now you're building up a fund of tax-free money that you never have to withdraw, but if you do, it's tax-free. So the Roth removes the uncertainty of what future higher rates can do to your standard of living in retirement. In other words, you're locking in a 0% rate.
That's right. Yeah, thanks, Ed. Excellent point.
Yeah, that's great, Ed. Hey, Ed, thanks so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it and your insights. And I know Bill and I really value all the information that you and your team provide for us. And you can get more information about Ed and the questions that are asked of the general public on IRAHealth.com. As well as, obviously, you can reference some information at hilltopwealthsolutions.com. So we are out of time. For Bill Davis, I'm Eric Brenner, and for the entire Hilltop team, we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.